The ruling is in, mentally fit to stand trial. It's breaking news that just came down about Bryan Patrick Miller, who for months now you've all gotten to know on this podcast as the Zombie Hunter. Hi guys, it's me, host Brianna Whitney. Our next Zombie Hunter podcast episode was going to drop next week and still will, but with the judge in the Canal murders cases ruling Miller is competent to stand trial, we're now seeing some court documents that have previously been sealed or inaccessible to us until now. And this ruling is fiery, with accusations back and forth that we want to share with you.
This is True Crime Arizona, the Zombie Hunter.
Competency is concerned with his mental health now.
That's Arizona criminal defense attorney Russ Richelsoff.
Is he capable of effectively communicating with his lawyers? Does he understand his constitutional rights? Does he understand the proceedings? Does he understand the role of the judge, the role of the prosecutor?
He's not affiliated with Miller's case, but sat down with us a few months ago to explain what was going on with Miller's team claiming both insanity and that he was not competent to stand trial.
Competency and insanity are different. You can be insane and competent. You can be sane and not competent. So they're actually two mutually exclusive things. In this case, obviously, the time component is at issue.
Now, one of those has been resolved. There will be a trial, because Superior Court Judge Suzanne Cohen agreed with two other court-appointed mental health experts that Bryan Patrick Miller is psychologically competent to be tried for the murders of 22-year-old Angela Brosso and 17-year-old Melanie Bernas in 1992 and 1993. Angela had moved to Phoenix earlier that year and rented a one-bedroom apartment with her boyfriend. That night, while Angela took off on her bike, her boyfriend stayed home to bake a birthday cake for her. It was supposed to be a surprise.
Her normal routine was to be gone approximately an hour and a half to complete the circuit.
But when she did not return in time to watch their favorite TV show, the boyfriend took off on his bike to look for her. At 10:30 p.m., he called 911.
911, what are you reporting?
The next morning, police made the gruesome discovery.
Well, the body is decapitated. There are multiple injuries which our homicide detectives do not want to discuss at this point. That is other than the decapitation.
10 days after police found Angela's body, a man who was fishing along the Arizona Canal spotted something in the water, something trapped behind a grate. It was less than 2 miles from where Angela's body was discovered, and the man with the fishing pole knew in his gut he had found something important, something awful.
We decided to go take a look, see if it was really the head. We went over there and from a distance, it didn't look real, is what it was. But when we went down the steps and took a better look at it, real close-up look, and it was the head, basically.
But that was only part of the story. It was the condition of Angela Brosso's head that revealed something else, something even more macabre.
I quickly found out that the head was in amazingly good shape.
This had been a week. It had been a week, and
Yeah.
the head is
In very good shape. So what does that mean? It was in a refrigerator, had been cooled and preserved during that time.
Could have seen or heard someone that may have been with her. She may have been in distress.
September 21st, 1993. 10 months after Angela Brosso's murder, when Melanie Bernas, a 17-year-old high school junior, took a nighttime bike ride and vanished. That is until 2015, when a forensic genealogist analyzed DNA left at both crime scenes that matched Bryan Patrick Miller. At the time of arrest, Miller was a public figure, posing as the zombie hunter at festivals and events, complete with a costume and old police car he tricked out with blood on it. He lived in a world of fantasy.
You know, the prosecutor is going to probably try to portray him as a weirdo. You know, hey, here's what this person was into. That's really weird. They're not like us. You and I don't do those kinds of things. That's weird. You know, the defense is going to portray it exactly like, you know, he'd like to dress up for Halloween. This is what he liked to do on the weekends. It was, you know, some harmless fun. It's easier for the jury to convict somebody if the jury doesn't identify with them.
Here's what we now know from the court ruling this week. Not only did the judge find Miller competent to stand trial, but she wrote that another expert who was working with Miller's defense team could not rule out the possibility Miller was faking a mental disorder. In the ruling, the judge wrote, quote, "Other than the claimed inability to remember the charged offenses, defendant presently has a rational understanding of the charges against him and the nature of the proceedings." Her ruling factored in evaluations from two other experts who interviewed Miller, Dr. Walker and Dr. Hurley. Dr. Walker said Miller was articulate and presented himself as logical and goal-oriented. Dr. Hurley said Miller didn't appear to suffer from a severe mental illness or defect and has no documented history of severe mental illness. Dr. Hurley went on to tell the court he doesn't believe the issue is whether Miller has the capacity to participate, but that issues raised by his defense team point to a problem with willingness to participate in his defense. Dr. Hurley said Miller still claims his innocence and wants to go to trial. Dr. Hurley said his desire to go to trial doesn't appear to be a result of any delusional beliefs, psychosis, or any other illness. There's another factor to all of this too, an insanity claim.
What insane means in this context is that they could not understand the nature or wrongfulness of their actions at the time they committed the offense.
Even though the judge ruled on competency, she hasn't ruled yet on the insanity defense. However, it was still discussed during this ruling. A prosecutor characterized Miller's insanity defense bid as a delay tactic, saying Miller's lawyers didn't bring up that defense until 6 years after the case was filed. In a court filing we can now publicly see from September, Miller's attorneys denied trying to delay their client's trial and said another expert working with the defense team, Dr. Frederick, will offer an opinion that Miller has dissociative amnesia, which is a mental disorder where a person can't remember traumatic events. But during Dr. Frederick's evaluation of Miller denied having amnesia and appeared annoyed by the suggestion that he may have dissociative amnesia. Dr. Frederick then admitted Miller might have been faking amnesia. The ruling also discusses some things found in this investigation that include violent pornography on Miller's computer and letters he wrote to his now ex-wife Amy, though these court documents don't go into what those letters say. A death penalty trial of this magnitude will be lengthy.
But I would guess at a minimum 4 to 6 weeks.
We know there's a long list of witnesses, as Bryan Patrick Miller's violent past began as a child and spanned multiple years and multiple states. The next status conference on it is set for early March. Coming soon, we'll have a full episode detailing what an insanity defense and death penalty conviction could mean and how loved ones of the victims are reacting to a death penalty case. But next Monday, the cold case detective who worked behind the case tirelessly to catch the Canal Murders killer, speaking out for the very first time. Next time on True Crime Arizona, The Zombie Hunter.
You don't start off with the level of violence that happened with Angela in 1992. And then 10 months later, you have Melanie with some type of fantasy acts that are particular to serial killers. It looked like it was something that was created in Hollywood, a serial killer type scene.
True Crime Arizona: The Zombie Hunter is hosted by me, Brianna Whitney.
And me, Morgan Lowe. Sergio Hernandez is the producer.
It's a production of Arizona's Family, CBS 5, 3TV, and azfamily.com in Phoenix, Arizona.